What's up, fellas? We're back for a daily double.
Hey, yo,
We're ready to roll. We're bringing starts and sits today. Hey, if you'll do us a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Be interactive today, man. If you're with us right now, ask us questions. We're here to serve you. We want your involvement. And Chance has an interesting stat for us. Chance, hit us with it.
So today is October 2nd, 2024. From now until November 27th, the day before Thanksgiving, there is football on every single day. We are entering a 55 consecutive day stretch of college or NFL football. Let's go. This is the best time of the year.
Feel so blessed. This is so awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome. Well, heck, man, let's get right into it. Let's roll. Again, everybody, welcome to the 208. Lots to talk about today. Starts and sits and NFL news and injuries. And it is welcome to week 5 bye week. And we're going to talk about what teams are on bye. But first, let's get into the news.
What's going on?
Fellas, what do we got for news?
Oh, man. So a couple things. The Davante Adams saga continues. Not as exciting as the Brandon Ayuk saga, I guess, but it is nice when you can get a little action with a number one wide receiver. So he has officially been ruled out of the game against the Broncos. Chalk up another win for the Broncos. I'm going to say that early, and he's also he released his Christmas wish list of teams he wants to go to. No surprise, they include his two best friends at quarterback, Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr. So it's the Saints and the Jets, which Lineberry, you would love it if he goes to the Saints, right?
No.
Yeah, you would. They would. I will tell you, the only team that he is for sure not going to is the Chiefs, because there's no way the Raiders are going to trade with the Chiefs in division. So thank God for that. We dodged a bullet there. Any thoughts on his trade? I mean, just curious, you guys, where would you like to see him go? Where do you think he's going to be best? Where do you think he's going to be worst?
I just want to see him get traded. I'm so tired of him being in with the Raiders. Just let him go. Cut him loose. And where he falls, he falls. I don't want him to end up with the Chiefs, which sounds like they won't trade with the Chiefs anyway, but thank you. But just let him go. Let him be free. Let him go do his thing.
Yeah, what do you think, Lineberry? Lineberry, the last team you want him to go to is the Saints, huh?
Yeah, I'd be kind of pissed off. But I just want to see him go to the Bills. I mean, Chance, before we came on live, Chance made a good point. What's the difference between playing in Buffalo and playing in Green Bay? There's not a lot of difference. He gets to play with Josh Allen. I don't think he would be the focal point, but you can't game plan just around him because they have Kincaid and Shakira has shown he's a guy, and Keon Coleman's starting to ball out. So they have some weapons. They have a really good defense, which is a huge surprise to me. Sean McDermott is one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's done a really good job with that defense.
Yeah, I just think the Bills would be a super fun team. I think the Commanders would be fun. I think he could do well there. I do think a couple of teams that have come up as far as would like a stud wide receiver, but he would be so boring there, would be the Steelers or the Ravens, right? Just two run-heavy teams that you just don't want to see him there because why?
He'd be frustrated again. It'd just be the same thing. He'd just be frustrated because I feel like that's what the Raiders want to be. They're just really bad at it, and they don't have a good running back. Sorry, Zamir White. They want to run the ball and play good defense, which is what the Ravens and the Steelers are doing right now. So
just a quick question for you, and I'm just curious. If Davante Adams were to go to the Bills with Josh Allen, do you think he could challenge Justin Jefferson as wide receiver 1 for the rest of the year? I mean, I understand the scheme is totally different, but you don't think Davante still has it to be wide receiver 1 on the year? That's really the question. Do you think he still has it?
I guess anything's possible.
Ah, man, there's a lot of negativity from you guys.
I think he still has it, but like let's not forget what the wide receiver market is. Like there's just a lot of good ones, and like Devontae is on the back end of his career. Like you still have the Jamar Chases. Look at Malik Neighbors. Like look at Marvin Harrison. Like look at these guys that are just showing out. That are like the young guys. Like it's just really hard. And Justin Jefferson's a different cat.
Yeah, he's different.
Chance, I think you could say instead of just going all the way to number one, he goes from a wide receiver 15 right now to easily a top 7, right? I mean, so the bargain's there if he ends up at the right team. So which we talked about last night, what would we trade for him? You know, do we gamble a little bit and say, hey, let's try to get him now if he ends up in the right spot? So it very well could pay off.
Yeah, it could pay off. And that goes, that feels like a gamble to me that if you're 1-4, or not 1-4, 1-3 or 0-4, and you need a spark, right? That could easily provide that. Worst case, he goes somewhere bad and you continue to suck. Right. You're there. Okay, sorry. Back to news. I just wanted that little side tangent because I'm a big Davante Adams fan. Super bummed he's been a Raider for the last couple of years because it makes him easy to hate. So DNPs today. Jonathan Taylor, DNP, did not practice. It's like they had said it was a mild ankle sprain, still an ankle sprain. I think they definitely monitor that. Ryan Martin Jr. did practice today with an injury. Cowboys wide receiver already been pulled out. I don't think that's a huge thing fantasy-wise for him, but I think it has implications. Talk about later.
Chance, we lost you again.
You're just cutting out again.
All right. Brandon Cooks pulled out. Patriots head coach Gerard Mayo said today there's a chance that Antonio Gibson will start over Ramondre Stevenson. So we're keeping in mind. And then, sorry guys, I really wanted you to take the news.
I don't know what you did. You broke it.
Yeah. I don't know what you did. You're broken. You're good, and then you're broken. So.
Shoot.
There it is.
Well,
there you go.
Listen, not a lot
There
of
you
news
go.
outside of those couple, the Davante Adams and those DNPs. Nick Chubb is back at practice, and Hawkinson's going to be open up for the practice window end of this week.
Yeah, I think Bijan was fully practiced today. We told you yesterday to kind of keep an eye on it. He's fully back to practice. Hoping, hopefully he can crush it. Need a ton of work out of Bijan. I drafted him really high. So, in addition to remember, this is week 5. A lot of bye weeks going on. We're in the official first bye week. You got your Eagles, Titans, Chargers, and Lions all on bye week. So some significant players that are not in this week that you gotta, hopefully you're listening to this channel, and we're gonna help you get there to fill in those gaps so you can continue your winning streak because you've listened to us, and we'll go from there. But let's jump into it. So again, our meat and potatoes today is our Benjamin Stardom. Let's jump right into it. This is our week 5. Hey, I was messing with AI today. Had AI. Man, stuff's getting good. It's getting so good. So a little refresher. What we told you last week to start, and it was recommended. Hey, can you guys keep track? Yeah, we'll do that for you. It's not that hard. So you'll see the number around them is what they finished in fantasy. So quarterbacks, if you listen to us on quarterbacks, you were no worse than 8th. Running backs, we missed one with Singletary, which kind of surprised us all. Finished 51, but you were still tough. Okay with Brian Robinson Jr.
To Wendell Robinson, man, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. James Conner was a top 16. Again, we're trying to be in that top 24th running backs. Wide receivers, Deontay Johnson was 10th there, and Marvin Harrison and Yoshi were 27 and 77. Big disappointment for Marvin Harrison Jr. Thought we at least finished top 12. And then we just completely missed with tight ends. So apologize on that one. That's our bad. We'll do better. We will definitely do better. However, it's not always about stardom. Sometimes you'll win your week if you simply sit them. And we dang near crushed. We were almost 100%. We were 92%. Laporta is one of those borderline ones because he was probably a top 6, top 5 tight end. He finished top 12. So for us, it's like, yeah, he probably was okay because he finished 12. You're going to start him anyway, but we were hoping he'd finish a little bit higher. But guys like AR5, ETN, Ayuk, Garrett Wilson's a big one, right? We told you to sit him. Zamir White, Henry, and all those guys. Ingram didn't even play. We told you, and we just want to say you're welcome.
Balling out. Listen, Matt he's enjoying himself. The producer.
I am.
Like the further we get into this, the more I'm like, I'm so glad Matt's our producer because you're balling out with these.
It would be if it was me a chance, it'd just be crayons.
Yeah.
I just like having some fun with it. I just like having a little bit of fun with it. So, yeah. So let's get right into week 5. So you know what? You might be 0-4. This is the week where you can start turning around. Bye weeks are a big deal because sometimes stud players are going against teams, or you're going against teams that they don't have. So this is an opportunity to pick up wins. And if you happen to have those stud players, you need to fill in to get you some points. So let's get into it right now. Here is our stardom quarterbacks. Watson, go ahead, Justin. He is your guy this week, which is interesting. You are not a Watson guy. You're not really a fan at all, but let's go.
Oh, the day I had to pick Watson, man. I was like, man, there's I didn't want to pick him. But Washington's defense is awful. Okay, the only team they play well against defensively is the Cardinals. So they played the Cardinals back-to-back years, and they just ball out against the Cardinals. I have no idea why. But again, Washington's defense 31st, bad secondary. They're just not good. I mean, hopefully this turns into a shootout. It feels like Cleveland is kind of getting healthy again at the O-line position. We'll see what happens. I think this is your last play with Watson. Like, this is realistically it for you. If you still have him on your roster, I think this is the last chance. The 31st ranked team. Again, if he can't do it against this team, I don't know if he can do it against anybody. That's where I'm at. Yeah. Do I want him to do kind of bad? Kind of, because I don't like Deshaun Watson. But this should be the game he does. It at least gets 20 points.
Yep, fair. So, point of clarification: the number next to the defense that they're playing, and this goes through all the way through. It is their rank in fantasy points. So it's what they're giving up to the position itself. So Washington is ranked 31 against quarterbacks. So they're giving up a lot of points against quarterbacks. And so that is the theme going through: quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver. So keep that in mind. So agreed, Justin. Washington is not good against quarterbacks at all. They're giving up a lot. So, and that's rushing and passing combined. Chance, you have Burrows as a start this week going against that Baltimore defense.
And I feel like most of my stardoms, I feel really excited when we do stardoms, and you look at the list and you're like, oh, this is an obvious stardom. And then you're like, do you want to post an obvious stardom? I feel real good because a lot of my stardoms and situms, they're like deep cuts, like, hey, it's okay. You can start. They're not studs. It's not like last week when I said start Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay. But I felt like this with Joe Burrow. I was like, well, obviously you're going to start Joe Burrow. But then you look at it's the Baltimore defense, like the Baltimore defense, it's a division game. But I really think that if I look at the track record that Baltimore has of just this year, getting off to hot starts, getting up big early, leaning on their running game, like quarterbacks have had to throw against them. Okay. That being said, I think Joe Burrow, like if that happens again, and we've seen the Bengals defense is not great. It's not a good defense. So I just think this is going to be a situation where it's not going to be a low scoring dink and dunk divisional game. I think Baltimore is going to score a lot of points. And I think Joe Burrow is going to have to throw a lot to keep them in the game. So that's why for me, he's a start. I mean, Baltimore, they're 20th against the quarterback. So they're not like stud shutting down quarterbacks. And you've seen like Dak Prescott put up decent number. Like you've seen a lot of quarterbacks have to play catch up against the Baltimore Ravens. I think Joe Burrow is a totally fine start. Don't be afraid of the Ravens this week.
Yep. Agreed. My guy on here, and Justin Fields, it seems like he finished number 1 last week, like obviously you're starting him, but I just want to reassure you. So They're playing Dallas. Now, we talked about this yesterday, and Justin talked about it. That Dallas defense isn't as good as what you're thinking, and they just had 2 injuries, Justin. They were
Marcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, man. Two very
two
good
big ones.
Two
And
very
I
good.
was surprised that they were ranked 24th of giving up fantasy football points to quarterbacks. And Fields also has an incentive. He wants to keep that starting quarterback job. So it's like check the boxes for me. I'm very confident. If you went out and got Fields, go ahead and start him. He'll be very viable. Should be a top 12 quarterback in my eyeballs for sure. And we'll roll it out. So there's your starting quarterbacks now. The fellas, who are we sitting this week?
Mm-hmm.
Let's work backwards. Let's start with Mahomes.
Yeah, baby, let's go. Let's sit Patrick Mahomes. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, I've been dying, and I love it. I love it because just a couple of the podcasts I listened to, one of the conversations that's come up is Patrick Mahomes a streamable quarterback, right? And we've had this conversation before. Patrick Mahomes, since losing Tyreek Hill, has not been a fantasy dynamo. He's not a guy that's just absolutely balling out every week, right? Like he's only eclipsed 20 fantasy points once this season. Okay. And so and he's played some teams that you're like, oh, he should put up quite a bit of points. No, he hasn't. And he's playing New Orleans. I just think that Patrick Mahomes, if you have another option, you should pursue that option. Right? I don't think that he's going to put up huge numbers because he just hasn't. In the last 19 games, he hasn't put up big numbers. He's just not the same guy anymore. So honestly, I'm on the train of if you can sell Patrick Mahomes in fantasy football, I think he's tradable because I don't think he's any better than a regular streaming option for your team. Go trade him. Go get something big for Patrick Mahomes because people will still buy into him. And you'll miss out on a couple of weeks where he goes off, but that's not his average. His average is below 20 points every week.
Crazy.
So quick before we move on, Chance, let me give you a couple names that I'm thinking of. Would you start CJ Stroud over Mahomes?
I would, yeah.
Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray, I would. Here's the other thing. Patrick Mahomes just lost his number one target, right? He just lost Rashee Rice. So, I just think that that's going to add to the dip in his production.
Okay. One more, Geno Smith.
Yeah, for sure. Geno Smith is on pace for 5,000 passing yards this year.
Yep. And I'll add to that Saints number 4 in quarterback points given up for fantasy. So moving on, I just talked about Kyler Murray. Justin, you're saying sit Kyler Murray this week against the San Francisco 49ers.
I feel like we're in the twilight zone right now because this is one player this is my guy. I love him. He's been my favorite player all off season, but man, ever since the week 2 where he just I'm going to throw these 2 touchdowns to Marvin Harrison, he hasn't done anything. He's been the quarterback 15, quarterback 1 against the Rams, quarterback 17, and then against Washington, that really bad defense, he was a quarterback 22. It's been bad. I think he just needs a reset. He's got a hard week. He's got a hard next 5 games. So hopefully he can reset, go back to the Kyler that I think he can be. Again, going up against this Niners defense, they've allowed one legit fantasy performance, and that was to Darnold, who went off for 268 is the highest passing yards they went off, and he threw 2 touchdowns. That's what they've allowed. This defense is still legit. They have a good defense. My biggest hope is the 49ers just get out to a fast lead and they can just get some garbage points behind it. But man, this is a tough matchup for Kyler.
Yep, agreed. In that number 9 ranking by the 49ers, Justin's exactly right. Darnold is the big chunk of that, why they pushed him down to number 9. So Dalton is my guy playing the Bears, who are number 1 against quarterbacks in fantasy football points. This is typical Red Rifle, right? He came in, tore it up against Las Vegas, a little bit back down to earth against Cincinnati, and probably come way back down to earth against the Bears. So you rode that high a little bit. He's going to finish outside the top 12 easily this week. I'm finding another guy. I'm probably starting both Murray and Mahomes over Dalton if I had to. Yeah. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So moving on to our running backs starting this week. Again, let's work backwards here. Let's go Williams.
I'm
Oh,
so interested
yeah.
to hear this. I am so
Yes.
interested to hear
Okay.
this.
So here's the thing. So
Let's hear it.
Javonte Williams finally got a touch share that we liked last week, right? And he started to look a little bit like old Javonte. Okay. He had 18 touches last week, which was awesome. I think 90 yards. My sleeper's not loading currently. Okay. So he looked a little bit better than he did last year or the last couple weeks. He's also playing the Raiders, which I love it when we get to beat the Raiders. It doesn't happen very often. Raiders, they're not great against running backs either. Like they're 25th against running backs. And I just think on top of them not having Davante Adams, they probably won't have Max Crosby again either. So for me, that's a big thing. Like I think if the Broncos can score some points and manage the clock and keep the Raiders off the field, and Javonte looking a little bit more like he used to, I think that was great. 60% of snaps went to Javonte. He's starting to have a majority of the backfield to himself again. They lost Tyler Bidet. Like they're down a running back. They're not going to be switching out. 16 touches on the ground for 77 yards, 2 catches in the air for 3 yards. I'm calling it right now. Javonte finds the end zone. I don't care if that makes him a top 12 guy, but if he finds the end zone for me, super happy.
Love it.
It's fair. That's fair. And this might be a make it or break it game for him too. So we'll
absolutely.
see.
And that, thank you for reminding me that is a thing there. If it's not now, I think you can drop him. Also, they're in their throwback uniforms, so he's going to.
They're copying Boise State, right? They're copying Boise State. That's what they did. Boise State came out with their uniforms, dude. They're wearing the exact same thing, dude. It's so funny. Orange tops.
No, it's their throwback with the old D and the old blue.
Yep.
Boise's wearing the script, the old script helmet, orange tops. It'd be funny.
That's fun. Hey, moving on to Najee and Mr. Harris, Justin. Why you have Najee this week against that Cowboy defense?
So again, I'm just gonna piggyback onto what Matt has been saying. Like, this defense is bad. They lost 2 of their best players. I think so the Steelers want to be a run first team. I think this defense it's scary. It's on par with Denver. I think they're the 2 best defenses. I don't think it's very close between those 2. They got 2 difference makers. Steelers have TJ, Broncos have Patrick Surtain. But Warren's still nursing that injury. I think the offense is starting to hit the stride. I feel like Fields is getting a little bit more confidence, especially in that second half. Snap percentage was at 70% last game. So that's what you love to see. And Dallas is allowing 147 yards on the ground right now.
Wow.
Yeah, hence that number 30 for fantasy stats against running backs. I think game script also, it would not surprise me if the Steelers go up and or just keep the ball on the ground and they just run. And that goes kind of where I was saying with Fields. They'll leave him on the ground too. So moving over Stevenson. So this one was like, him hot on this and him hot on that. So do you guys realize he has fumbled in every single game? He has 4 fumbles. He has put he's put it on the ground.
And he's your stardom?
He is my stardom. And it's going to go back a little bit, Javonte.
Right now.
That's right. So Stevenson's got to get it going. Miami's 28th against fantasy points against running backs. It is a make or break for Stevenson. I'm not sure if they'll even give him the ball, but if they do, he can't drop anymore. He's got to play. It's almost like a contract year, right? He's like, you can't make any more mistakes. You're gonna lose your job.
Contract. They just gave a contract. Like,
Yep.
they're like,
So-
hey, we might bench you.
Yep.
Like,
So
that's not good.
he hasn't been crazy efficient, but it's, he's against San Francisco, is 3.3 yards a carry. He did get some receiving yards, but very, very little. But he's got to get it going, and I'm just kind of rolling the dice going, you know what, I don't want to lose my job here. I'm going to get after it against this really porous Miami defense. So moving on, our sit-ems. There's a couple of big names in here. I was like, really, all these guys have been doing good.
Chance picked
Chance, let's go. again, hitting it hard here. Let's get into Achan. You are sitting against the Patriots.
Dude, listen, hey, again, my big thing with Devon Achane is that I watched the Dolphins play football on Monday, and I watched it and I said to myself, their offense is not functioning like McDaniels wants this offense to function without Tua. And because of that, they immediately are, they're a decreased threat in the passing game. So I think the Patriots, who have a fairly decent defense, I think they're going to stack the box and they're going to dare Huntley I'm assuming Huntley is going to start. It could be, oh no, if it's not, it's Skylar Thompson or whatever. I think the Patriots are going to say, throw on us if you can. And they're just going to stack the box. And Devon Achane is not built for that. He's just not built to be that guy. I think they're going to lean on Jalen Wright. I think they're going to, if Mostert's back, I think they can lean on Mostert a little bit. I just don't see this being Achane's game. I just think that he's going to really struggle against the stack box. He's great in space. He won't have that this weekend. So he's my sit-em. It's I'm sitting Patrick Mahomes. I'm sitting Devon Achane. I'm starting Javonte Williams. Life's crazy right now. Okay. Welcome to fantasy football.
Nothing wrong with it. Chuba Hubbard, who's been on a tear lately, Justin. You're sitting him this week against the Bears.
Yeah, he's had 2 top 10 weeks, the back-to-back weeks. Again, I'm just a big believer in this defense. I think this is the week that Andy Dalton shows his true colors. Like
red. His true colors are red.
Yes, the wheels got to fall
Very
off
true.
eventually. Like that's just how it works. Like I think Andy Dalton is your most average quarterback ever. Like below average. He's just not that great. I think this offense is going to struggle a little bit with this defense this week.
Oh, that's fair. That Bears defense has been much better against the pass than the run, but we'll see how it goes. The Bears defense is a top 5 defense currently right now. So I'm throwing my Bears plug in there, if you couldn't tell.
Nice.
ETN is my guy. I'm just, gosh dang, he's hadn't had any more than 13 carries in a game. This game script's always upside down. They're playing from behind. And now Tank Bigsby has actually had a good game last week it was something, it wasn't even that many carries. 7 carries, 90 yards against Houston. So I know we drafted ETN high, and the Colts run defense is way better than their pass defense. They're kind of that mid pack. I'm off on ETN. As much as I like him, I think they're going to split time with Bigsby. And if you have somebody else, I would go ahead and sit. He's going to be outside the top 24 for sure. So keep that in mind. Moving on to wide receivers. I love the wide receivers. Lots to talk about with wide receivers too.
Yeah.
3 great guys you got. I hope you put them in. Let's start with Reed, even though we saw Wicks blow up last week and we told you to get him this week. But Chance, you got Reed starting against LA against their 23rd ranked defense.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is matchup, right? Like Jordan Love came out, he looked healthy, he looked good to go last week, and I really think that like Jaden Reed is the dude, and everyone went out and picked up Dontavian Wicks, and that's awesome. And I hope Wicks does well. I'm a fan of his, but I just think that Jaden Reed is the most explosive athlete. He's going to be the most explosive athlete on the field next week. And so to me, I just think he's an easy start. You've been disappointed with him with Jordan Love out, but I don't think last week was a fluke. And I think if you have him, fire him up, get him rolling.
Yep. Let's move over to Ayuk. Interesting against the Cardinals. I like it.
Yeah, so he was my sit of the week last week, and again, I knew it was going to take him a little bit of time. We're in week 5. He's played his preseason. He had 8. He's been up to 80% snap. That's what you want to see snap percentage wise. Arizona's allowing 208 yards. Again, these numbers are skewed because offenses have been really bad. I think this is a game he gets back to himself. They should have everybody in the lineup apart from Christian McCaffrey. Jordan Mason's been doing really well. I think this is a game he goes off. You saw what Washington did to this Cardinals defense. I think it's more the same with Brock Purdy and him.
Nope. Yep. I agree. Moving over to my guy, Brian Thomas Jr. I just told you that it's mostly a passing game script. That's why I'm not starting our ETN, but I don't mind starting Brian Thomas Jr., who has actually been very efficient. 26 targets, 17 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Has got 275 yards and averages about 16 per catch, which he's kind of sneaky. Not a lot of people talking about him, and I think they're just going to give him the ball more and more. wide receiver, bottom end 2, 3, if 3 for sure, but maybe a bottom end 2. I have no problems rolling him out against the Colts, who are absolutely horrendous against the pass. So, man, hopefully we can get more of what we've seen. They're going to get him more involved in that offense. So
he's been it's tough because he's been so overlooked with Neighbors being the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy. And I think Marvin Harrison's 9, but Brian Thomas is top 15, I believe, right now. He's a good receiver, man. He is tough. If they get a competent quarterback, woo!
Yep, agreed. So there's our wide receiver starts. Again, hey, just taking a quick break here. If you are watching, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Let us know what you think. Drop a comment. It is interaction. We're here to help you win your leagues. Moving on to our sits for wide receivers. I'll start this one. Deontay Johnson, who has been kind of the guy I already told you that he's been getting tons and tons of volume from the Red Rifle, but the Bears are really, really good in the pass. And he's been banged up, so I'm sitting him this week. You're probably rolling him out there, because he's been a target monster. Just temper your expectations. He's probably outside the top 24 this week. We'll see for sure, but I'm going to sit him. Tyreek Hill, who has been an absolute.
Here's my big swing.
Yes, he's been a bust this last couple of weeks, 3 weeks or so.
Tough.
But it has been tough. But Justin, you've got him sitting against. You're going to sit him against the Patriots.
I mean, in some leagues, like he went like number 1 overall. So like this is a really hard thing to do. Just like Chance alluded to it already, but like he did his little cryptic tweet, like I'm gonna get traded, this and that. Like where's his head at? Like what's going on? Does he want to get traded? Does he get traded back to the Chiefs? Like, is he thinking about that? Does he want to get out of there? He has finished the highest he has finished since Tua got hurt is wide receiver 51.
Yikes.
That is not playable. You can't play those games out of your first round draft pick. Like, it's just not it. And when I do starts and sits, I'm not gonna lie. Here's as deep as my research goes for wide receivers. Who's playing the Broncos and who's playing the Patriots? Because those are the 2 best corners in the league. I'll be straight up honest with you guys. Is Patrick Surtain gonna shadow someone, or is Christian Gonzalez gonna shadow someone? This one is better. I get Tyreek Hill as a top 5 wide receiver in this league. He doesn't have a quarterback, and that's a pretty important part of playing wide receiver. If he can't get the ball, I don't know. This offense is bad. Like they are very bad. If you can't get Tyreek Hill above wide receiver 51 every week, your offense is bad. He's a stud. Maybe he gets traded. Maybe him and Devontae Adams get traded the same day. That'd be crazy. But I just if you have the courage to take him out of your lineup, like all the power to you. Like that's a tough one. But if you're in a tough spot, I think you got to sit him.
Miami is just having a heck of a time sustaining drives, and that's part of the problem, right? Tua, that offense is built around Tua, whether you like it or not. The first week, Hill had 7 receptions for 130 yards and a TD. Since then, he's had and that was 12 targets if I didn't say it, but he's had no more than 7 targets, and it's been 24 yards, 40 yards, 23 yards. It's just not the same without Tua. They are going to struggle. I don't care what quarterback they bring in. They need Tua to come back, and who knows when that's going to be. I am 100% behind Hill. Either he has to be traded or he's a bust. So, Chance, you got your favorite guy who you do not believe is an alpha wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, sitting against the Vikings.
Listen, like I said, Garrett Wilson, who was still drafted pretty high, right? I'm taking big swings, right? So to me, I think Garrett Wilson, maybe they have the opportunity, him and Aaron Rodgers, to get on the same page. I don't necessarily think that he's like not a good receiver. I just don't think him and Aaron Rodgers are on the same page, right? Like if you watch that, this is a game against the Broncos. Garrett Wilson ran a route and Rodgers threw to him and he just ran the wrong route. And Rodgers stared daggers into Garrett Wilson's soul.
What are you doing?
Yeah. That being said, I think if you look at like Minnesota, I think on a lot of the rankings of, like how Minnesota is as a defense, those rankings are going to be skewed because of their game last week against Green Bay, right? Like because of the game against Green Bay where Sam Darnold eviscerated or Jordan Love came back and just put some numbers up on the Vikings defense. Like it's like when the Broncos allowed 70 points to the Dolphins last year. And for the rest of the season, they had a good defense, but their numbers, their rankings were really low because you can't come back from that. You know what I mean? So I just think Garrett Wilson, I think the Vikings have a really good defense. Brian Flores is an absolute genius with the way he schemes. And I don't see an end to the Jets' woes. I think they're going to continue to struggle. Garrett Wilson to me is a fade for sure. If you can't avoid starting him, you're going to have to. But if you have another option, I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah. The Jets really remind me of Miami. Again, they're just struggling to sustain offensive drives. They just they sputter out. And you're right. Aaron Rodgers looks frustrated. I have a feeling they'll get it going, but early these first 4 weeks, it's been rough. We'll see with Garrett Wilson. Don't mind sitting him this week just to see what happens.
Yep.
Moving over to tight end, we're going to start him this week. And hey, you know what? We are going to redeem ourselves this week because we missed on all the tight ends last week.
There's no way to redeem ourselves with tight end. There's literally we are going to close our eyes and guess, and who knows?
I think we can do it. Let's start off with Johnson, Chance. Why Johnson this week? Why are you starting him?
So to me, Juwan Johnson against the Chiefs, I think is a good start. One, Taysom Hill still out, still dealing with some injury stuff, but the Chiefs are 32nd against tight end. Like that's just one area of their defense that's fairly easy to attack. And so as far as that goes, I think he's going to be one of those guys that has the opportunity because he's still coming back from an injury. He hasn't been 100% yet. And he the further we get away from that injury he had in the offseason, the more involved he is, especially if Taysom's going to have a reduced role because of his injury.
Oh, did we lose him?
Lost him a little bit.
Let's see if he comes back here. We'll kind of get going.
Okay, I'll go with Kraft a little bit.
I think
I'm talking a little bit. There it goes. A little bit.
Maybe. No, we lost him here. We'll get him back in, but yeah. Go ahead and go with Kraft, Justin.
So, man, you talked about Kraft a little bit yesterday. He was a tight end one last week, played really well. Going against the third worst defense against tight ends. Look for him to continue his role. I think there's no reason he can't be a top 8 guy this week. Had an 80% snap share. That's what you that's what you want. That high snap percentage where he's on the field, whether he's blocking or running routes. You just don't have him come off the field.
Yeah, I agree. And he's clearly the number one there, 100%. And I think they're more efficient when they get him involved, which is I'm going to allude to that a little bit with Kmet. But I agree. The reason why I think we can hit on tight ends just a little bit, again, we've got 2 big tight ends that are out with the Eagles and the Lions on bye weeks. So you're looking for somebody to replace those guys a little bit. But I do like Kmet. I like that he can he needs to be a part of this passing game. I think he makes the Bears offense better when he's involved. So the Panthers, again, aren't very good against the pass. They give up quite a bit to the tight ends. I think they'll get him involved. It'll make Caleb Williams' life a little bit easier, and hopefully they see that. They didn't have to do a lot of it because Swift last week went off. Swift will not do that every week. He may have been one of my sits this week, and we didn't talk about him, but I think it's worth getting Kmet out there with those other tight ends on bye. So, Chance, I see you're back with us real quick.
Guys,
I want you to retouch on Johnson here a little bit of why you want him to go.
Like I said, I just think that the Chiefs they're 32nd against tight end. Like they have not been good against tight end. And it's one of the weak spots in that defense that I think they can exploit. Derek Carr started off super hot. He's had a couple of down games, but I think if there's going to be a game where he comes back, especially like Derek Carr is going to get up for the Chiefs game, not only because he wants to prove he's good again. He was a Raider for years and he hates the Chiefs. Like, it's easy. You forget that, like, there's that little bit of human aspect to these guys. He's taken a lot of L's to the Chiefs. And now he's on a team in an offense where I think they could, like the Falcons, really contend with the Chiefs. I think Derek Carr's going to do that. And the Chiefs' biggest weakness is tight end on defense.
Yep, I agree. Moving over to let's sit them this week. We need to sit these tight ends. A couple big names on here. I want to start with Ferguson. We are sitting Ferguson against the tight end or against the Steelers. Really? So why are we sitting Ferguson, Chance?
So for me, and this, when we submitted this, honestly, this was before the Brandon Cooks news came out. The Brandon Cooks news came out, and it piqued my interest a little bit because I saw him as a sit because he's playing Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh, their biggest weakness on defense is the tight end. And I don't want this to turn from a sit him to maybe start him, but I think you should definitely fade Ferguson. I think he has a chance to get some targets because Brandon Cooks is out. But again, this isn't no offense to the Steelers or offense. They're really good at defense and they're really medium at offense. It feels like it's not like the Cowboys are going to have to throw a ton because they're going to be down a bunch and they're going to have to do that. Like the Steelers have been winning low scoring games. And because of that, and they're able to shut down offenses, like I think that the pass game in Dallas is going to struggle. And I think Ferguson is number one on what's going to struggle there.
Fair. And it might be a game script that they have to throw. We'll see, right? It depends on what happens. This might be a shootout, believe it or not, but we don't know.
We don't know. Hey, so real quick, I want to ask Lineberry, tell me why the tight end that you're trying to trade me in Dynasty is your sit this week.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there it is. There it is.
So, again, kind of like Chance, so the outs came out today for the Falcons and Bucks. So Antonio Winfield is, I think, the Bucks' best overall player. He plays safety, all pro. He's not playing. So again, I had to pick between starting in me and Chance's league, Kyle Pitts or Tucker Kraft, and I'm starting Tucker Kraft this week. Like I'm gonna live and die by my own sword. Like I'm not gonna tell you guys one thing and do another thing in my league. Like I'm starting Tucker Kraft over Kyle Pitts. Thursday night games are weird. They're just wonky. I don't know why.
Always.
That's just how it is.
Always.
It's a short week. Falcons are kind of banged up, especially on the O-line. We're getting our right tackle back, which is huge. I think we rely on our run game this game. I think Mooney has taken that spot as realistically the one, and Drake London is that red zone threat that Kyle Pitts should be. He's lining up in line 57% of the time, and he's never done more than 40% in his career. We just use him the wrong way. I don't know if he's a good player or bad player. I'll be honest. I don't think we use him right. I would love to get a more traditional tight end, a more traditional Y, like I said yesterday, in a Ferguson, in a Mark Andrews, in a Michael Mayer. I just don't know what we're supposed to do with him because it feels like our slot guys are really good. I've been really impressed with Ray McLeod and Darrell Mooney. Like they played really well for us. But this feels like it's an Algier, it's a Bijan game with Mooney and Drake London sprinkled in with no room for Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, that's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow, and the Tampa Bay is pretty decent against the tight end too. So, my guy is pretty simple. I mean, if you follow fantasy football at all, you're sitting Gesicki, and the reason why I brought him up, and you look at Baltimore and they struggle against tight ends in general. Like, hey, wow, maybe I'm streaming a guy. Maybe Gesicki would be a guy that we could do. And we know he's a good pass catching tight end. So you got to pay attention though. Eric All is taking over that tight end from Gesicki role. He is more efficient. He's just better. Gesicki's been around the league, but check out Eric All. He's going to be the guy. I would rather start Eric All than Gesicki if I had to stream somebody from the Bengals. So keep that in mind. Eric All played tight end at Michigan before transferring, and then our guy Colston Loveland, right, who's there now, is tearing it up. So in Michigan, they know how to develop tight ends. So
hey, I do think that at the very end of this pod, we got to give out some awards to guys who are regular appearances on this. And Mike Gesicki, I think, has been on this podcast every single week.
Show.
As a start or a sit or a streamer or a waiver wire pickup. Like, that's just so funny to me that he just ended up being a guy that's on our pod
every
all
time.
the time.
The Gesicki Award or something like that. Somebody who's just routinely on there. Who knows? I think I had toyed around too with giving away some 208 cards. They're like metal cards, So
Nice.
we'll see. Keep an eye out for that. We'll have a little fun with that. Maybe that's how you get into our 208 fantasy football league, is become an owner, and then you get priority if you're putting in, bringing in chats and all that stuff. So I think we can have some little bit of fun with that. Get some members out there for the 208 fan club. getting into, man, there it is, fellas. Our starts and sits for week 5. And games start tomorrow.
Go
It
Birds.
should be a good game.
Go Birds,
Yeah,
baby.
it should be a good game.
Go Falcons. No,
Yeah.
I am trying to acquire Baker Mayfield in Dynasty right now, so I hope he's decent.
Bad? You hope he's bad.
I hope he's
You want
bad.
him to get bad.
I want
You
him to be bad tomorrow. I want him to press that value.
You got a chance.
Yeah,
We'll see.
gosh, I don't know. Is there a game that it's a must watch this week?
I haven't really seen any games that have come up that I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see that. I mean,
I figured you want to watch Denver Oakland game.
oh, of course, that's a must watch. But that's every Broncos game, you know. And I laughed because I was thinking about, we talked about the Jet, you know, like, oh, the Jets are hard to watch and the Dolphins are hard to watch. And I'm over here watching Bo Nix throw 60 yards and I'm jacked about it. You know what I mean? Like, football's wild.
The Bills Texans game is going to be a good one. That'll be fun.
Bills Texans. A game that you think we would just be all jacked up to watch would be Baltimore and Cincinnati, and I'm kind of like, It's crazy. You would think like that's going to be a game, and you're like, yeah, I don't know. And then the Pittsburgh-Dallas game, I'm very intrigued on. I really do want to see what Dallas is without a couple of their guys, and then see how Fields can continue to grow. So,
Yep.
And then go ahead.
Oh, most hyped college game of the weekend. You guys ready for this? It's a surprise. I think it's a Friday night game. Syracuse versus UNLV. Oh, yeah. UNLV up and coming. They're dealing with some stuff. Kyle McCord transferred to Syracuse from Ohio State. He's been balling out. So watch out. See the Syracuse Orange versus UNLV running Rebels. There's your college game of the weekend.
Yeah, check it out.
Sorry, guys. You gotta have a college ball guy. Yeah. Everyone's gotta have
Absolutely. Is there a player that you were thrilled about getting this week on one of your fantasy teams? I think Justin, you said you were in your guillotine. You were pretty excited to get your quarterback.
I got my guy Josh Allen. I spent 35% of my fab on him with $351, but I wanted him really bad. That's my guy. I'm a Josh Allen guy. I was like, I gotta get him. I spent big on him and Justin Jefferson. Did get Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson went for $750. I just wasn't really to dole that out. So.
Fair. Chance you get somebody you wanted.
I snagged Trey Tucker in a couple of leagues. I think he's
smart.
I don't think it's a bad pickup. And then also important to check guys that are dropped, because the waiver I'm waiting for is somebody dropped Antonio Gibson in a league that I need some running back help in. So, just that flyer of like, if Ramondre continues to fumble the ball and fumbles that starting role, Gibson could be a dude.
Yep. That's good advice.
I was able to score
the waivers.
Absolutely. I was able to score a Jonathan Brooks. Somebody dropped him in one league.
Nice.
I was like, sweet. I did get a fair amount of shares of Wan'Dale Robinson in some of these PPR leagues. So I'm just curious. I'm intrigued. I hope maybe he does well, or I can use him as a combo trade or something like that to somebody. So we'll see how it goes.
Sweet.
Well, shoot, gentlemen, I think we'll call it a night. Good. We had a good get up. We're going to see how we do this next week with our starts and sits, and hopefully we can improve on our starts and can maintain in our sits. So we'll see how that goes. Anything for good of the order before we leave?
Go Birds!
Always. Okay. Go Birds it is. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Tuesday. We'll get ready for the following week. Wish you all the best. Get her done. Go get that W, and we will see you next time.